the whole, unrecognised by the international media are the day-to-day efforts of groups of Israelis and Palestinians to work towards a peaceful resolution on the ground. These peace activists have not given up on the peace process, even while their governments either willfully backslide or are powerless to move forward. One such organisation is OneVoice, a youth-led movement working to end occupation and violence in Israel and Palestine. Based out of Tel Aviv and Ramallah, its campaigns have attracted over 650,000 signatories, with over 300,000 Israelis and Palestinians each. They train youth leaders to prepare them for public life and campaign with a vigour at election times that Western politicians can only watch enviously. OneVoice's Israel election campaign, Israel 2013, comprised events across the country to highlight the importance of electing politicians who were committed to this two-state solution. I'm sure that when the election result is analysed in full, we will see some link to their youth work. OneVoice Palestine is at the forefront of peaceful opposition to illegal settlement activity, given that there are over 600,000 Israeli settlers living in occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank, nearly 10% of Israeli Jews in total. Now, I myself have been in parts of Area C and witnessed how Israel's annexation policy works in terms of closing off an area of agricultural land, after some time declaring it uncultivated, and then expropriating it for settlements. To counter this, in February 2012, OneVoice Palestine brought around 150 Palestinian youth to plant dozens of trees and Palestinian flags in a barren area east of Jerusalem, east of Bethlehem, which was under threat of confiscation by Israeli military order. One of the greatest obstacles to genuine collaboration between the two communities is the difficulty of a common language. Unless both sides speak English, the barriers of Hebrew and Arabic keep them apart. So these movements tend to be dominated by the better educated elites on both sides. But they find ways to reach beyond their own socioeconomic class into the wider public. In April last year, OneVoice Palestine youth activists released hundreds of helium balloons along the 1967 line with the text in Hebrew of the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative. In marking the 10th anniversary of the peace initiative in this manner, they ensured that while Israeli media might not mark the event, their actions and the coverage of it made it more widely known.
The OneVoice movement focused on ending the conflict by establishment of two states. OneVoice Israel recently campaigned during the Israeli elections on the importance of citizens opting for moderate candidates who are committed to a two-state solution. OneVoice Palestine is the second largest youth movement in Palestine. Last year, it led a rally of hundreds of citizens through deserted lands east of Bethlehem to plant the foundation stone for a peace park to be built in the future. OneVoice Palestine has recently started a program to educate and empower women from towns and villages to become leaders in their communities. My Lords, in yesterday's debate on the Council of European Your Lordship's House, we spoke on the merits of local democracy and the importance of local and regional authorities. It is also important to recognize that civil society organizations in the Middle East deserve credit for the innovative steps they have taken to play their part in the quest for lasting peace between Israel and Palestine.
Around a third of Israelis are involved in social activism of some kind or another, and 25% of those are young people, and therein, I think, lies our hope. It's natural that they have this inheritance because, after all, the establishment of kibbutzim was a central part of the foundation of the Israeli state. And young Israelis are at the heart of nearly all the peace movements, especially, as people have mentioned here tonight already, the OneVoice, where you find a great majority of the young, both Palestinians and Israelis.
And then on the ground in the region, at OneVoice, mentioned earlier, John Linden and their team are now also looking at using civic, economic and media milestones as part of an ambitious program called the People's Blueprint. They're persuading manufacturers, businesses, infrastructure and property developers, hospitals and universities to pledge that they will invest across the region once certain steps towards a peace deal are in place. Your Lordships may know others who might like to make similar pledges.
My Lords, I've tried to understand the role of civil society over about 3 decades, principally because the whole process of making peaceful life the normality so often rests with them. I've tried to understand it in Israel, on the West Bank, for those in Gaza and those which manage to reach across boundaries. And may we quickly learn, if we can, from what has been achieved across borders. OneVoice has been mentioned. That's obviously a remarkable organisation.
Our fear is that with each passing day, month and year without progress, the prospect of peace becomes less likely, and both the Israeli and Palestinian peoples lose hope that it's possible. During these times when formal negotiations remain stalled, it's thus very important to ensure that both societies continue to foster an environment for peace. Civil society organisations play a vital role in fostering that environment. Our embassy in Tel Aviv is in close contact with many of the organisations spoken about, including the Association for Civil Rights in Israel, OneVoice and the Perez Centre for Peace.
My Lords, I should end with the observation that while the peace process is often described as dead, in the words of Aaron David Miller, the US negotiator on successive talks, and I quote, "It is not yet buried and it will be back," unquote. When it returns, its foundations will have been laid by the thousands of activists on both sides who work day in and day out for that end. We all owe them a debt of gratitude.